Welcome to the fourth episode of 30 Minutes Robotic Milking Edition. I'm your host, Marcia Andres, Dairy Science Professor and Extension Specialist at the University of Minnesota in St. Paul. With us today, you have your co-host, Jim Sulfur, Dairy Extension Educator at the St. Cloud Regional Office. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Marcia, and everybody attending. Appreciate
Yes.
you joining us again today.
Thank you, and thank you for being here later on for the Q&A, Jim. Much appreciated. If you're joining us via recording, if you're watching this as a recording, I would like to let you know that episodes are held on the third Thursday of every month at 11:30 a.m. Central US time. So if you want to join us live virtually next time, please register at z.umn.edu/30minrm. We're going to be using a Q&A option in Zoom to answer your questions. So when the producer is done with the overview of their facility and their operation, we are going to open up for questions, and we'd like you to type your question in the Q&A box, not the chat box. Please do not use the chat box. It gets really disrupting. So use the Q&A, and you can find that on the bottom of your screen if you hover with your mouse. And then either Jim or I will ask the question or make the comment on your behalf. I'd like to also take this opportunity to invite you to join us for the Precision Dairy Conference, taking place June 22nd and 23rd, 2021. We have an in-person option at the Hyatt Regency Bloomington near the St. Paul, Minneapolis airport, and also virtual live streaming option. Details about this event can be found at precisiondairy.umn.edu. We're very pleased today to have the Maxwells from Iowa join us for the discussion about robotic milking. And as a special treat, they have a little more to tell us about than just the robotic milking. They do something special at their farm that we'll be talking about today too. So welcome, Joan and John. Hey, there you are. Thank you for being here today. I very much appreciate you taking the time to visit with our audience. And we'll start with a virtual tour of your facility, and then we'll go and answer questions, okay? So I'll give you about 10 minutes or so to talk about your facility. I'll move your pictures, and then we'll open for Q&A. So I'm trying to hide myself here, see if that works.
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Maxwell. This is my wife, Joan. We're part of Cinnamon Ridge Dairy. We're actually the owners of Cinnamon Ridge Dairy. We're located in eastern Iowa, very close to the Mississippi River, in the central part of the state of eastern Iowa. I'm actually fifth generation Jersey, that's the kind of cows we have, Jersey dairy farmer. My ancestors came in 1855. Brought some jerseys with them, and we've had jerseys ever since. Through my childhood, we grew up with bucket milkers and then a pipeline, and then in 1988, we built this facility here of where the dry cows are now, which is it was a tie stall barn, a 40-cow tie stall barn, and then in 2012, going through several transitions, we built this robotic dairy, and you're looking at the front of the barn itself. And in that barn, we have the milking cows. We milk about 230 milking cows, and they're 100% Jersey, registered jerseys. And we genotype everything in the herd. And we are #1 in the nation for milk for 2 years straight now. And we're #1 in the nation for protein for 4 years straight. And we really do concentrate on cow comfort and all the things that surround that. And so in 2012, we spent the entire year, and we opened on November with first 2 robots. And then in March of 2013, we put in 2 more robots and started milking At that time, our rolling herd average was about 50 pounds per cow, or about 25, about 50 pounds per cow. And today we're in the upper 70s to low 80 pounds per cow. We chose Lely robots over others. We need to back up again. My daughter, who is a graduate of Iowa State University, and she graduated from Iowa State in 2011, and she worked at several dairies, but two of them, one of them had De La Valve robots and another one had Lely robots. And that helped us in that decision of choosing Lely robots. One of the things that really pushed us in that direction was we have sand as our bedding source. Sand is very cheap for us, and we have sand. And that sand is our bedding, and it worked way better with Lely robots than it did De La Valve at that time. I can't speak for today. They may work just fine, but at that time it was a big decision. Also, we have a dealer that is not that far away, 45 minutes to an hour away, and that was another big reason. It's Eastern Iowa Dairy in Epworth, Iowa, and they have been phenomenal through this whole thing. And one of the things, I've traveled the world around, I've been in 6 of the 7 continents, et cetera, and seen a lot of robotics milkers. One of the things that I noticed that no matter what kind of robot you have, if you don't have the support from a dealer, you really have troubles, because you can't possibly be able to fix it all the time, and you need support, and that support is very, very important. So we put in those robots in 2012, and we've been milking since that time. One of the things that we learned is with robots, the amount of free time that you have is super important. We don't want to get below 10% free time in our robots. And the reason for that is the timid cow will not be milked that extra time. I used the example of in 2013, late in the year, we were milking 270 cows. We had no 100-pound cows, and we were shipping 30,000 pounds of milk. We sold 30 cows. We now had more than 20 100-pound cows, and we were still shipping 30,000 pounds of milk. So the funnel point to the number of cows you milk, if you have robots, remember, is always the time that you have available for those cows to be milked. As an example, the cow that should be milked 5 times was being milked 4 times, or those sorts of things. Another thing, when we built the barn, we made it accessible that we could make cheese. And here's a picture of the robots. And we have alley scrapers, and we have sand, and we have lunar brushes. And if you look over the first post that you see a little bit of red. That also is a Juno that pushes up the feed. So those are all Lely pieces that we have. We do not have the vector feeding. We use a lot of bags, and so that kind of takes us out of that game. And we decided that we wanted to not have a pit underneath the cows, so we elected with the alley scrapers that we use, and they are very good. We use the Hool brand of those. So back to the other features of the barn. One of the features of the barn is we make our own cheese, and we also have a lot of tourism. And I'm going to let Joan tell a little bit about making cheese and the tourism piece. Here's a picture of the cows in the barn.
So the cheese we currently make is cheddar cheese as well as Gouda. And we call it just an artisan process right now. It's small batches, and we have a 100-gallon pasteurizer and a 100-gallon vat. Now with the pandemic and people wanting to go to the local movement, we are now going to be expanding into a 250-gallon vat and an HTST pasteurizer, which will allow us to do more cheese at once Our one constraint is we make cheese and package cheese in the same room, and you can't package cheese and make cheese at the same time. So and it's cheaper to increase capacity than to build a second building for the packaging piece. This is a picture of our little store. It's an on-farm store, and it's at the end of our driveway. And this brings in quite a bit of things. One of the things we also do is we raise up all of the bull calves on the farm. We either raise them as a bull if they've got good genomics, or we'll castrate them and raise them to market steers. And our jerseys, we'll get around a 600 to 650 carcass, which is about a 58 to 60% cutout value. And they also use up some of our leftover feed that's no longer good enough for the ladies. This store here, we sell our cheese, we sell our beef from our jerseys. We do have some baked goods that we have in there, and also for the tourism side, we bring in coffee that's produced by a local producer or roasted by a local producer, and then also some jams and jellies from a neighbor down the road that has her own business as well. And we have found that this store brings in quite a bit. It's a way of using our jerseys. Now we do genomic sex semen on our cows. So we're only getting about 5 to 7 bull calves a month, which is about the capability of this store, as well as our markets off the farm. We market our cheese to local restaurants, high-end restaurants. We're in the I-80 truck stop. This is our retail packaging. And the I-80 truck stop has really taken off. And this size package is about a 6-ounce package. And we offer about 6 different flavors of curd. And of course, there's our smoked Gouda, as well as our cheddar cheese that we press. And this has been a great hobby, but now I think we're going to be moving it into more as we produce more cheese, because the demand is definitely there.
Okay, I want you to back the slides up a little bit, and I want to focus on the robots. Why robots and why Lely robots? I'll explain that shortly, and then we'll take questions. Why robots? First of all, we wanted the maximum amount of production per cow, and that allows us to milk up to 6 times a day. So that really is important. Right out of the box, the first day we had robots, we picked up 15% more milk because of those robots. Also, robots are consistent. They do the same thing every day. They show up every day. I don't have insurance claims with robots, and they are very, very timely and everything else. I'm not going to tell you that they don't break down. Mechanically, we have their machines, so they have maintenance, and they have all sorts of things that goes with it. We have daily maintenance, we have a weekly maintenance, monthly maintenance, yearly maintenance, all sorts of maintenance things that we do on them. But the big key is they're consistent. Also, it really saves, in our instance, on the labor force. We have a labor force that's part of Cinnamon Ridge, but the milking cow piece, we don't have to worry about that labor being there. So that's why robots. It was good for us. I would tell you that if you're thinking about doing robots, you need someone that can champion the project. Meaning, I have a daughter who knows computers and loves cows and runs the robots all the time. There's daughter Amy right there, and she's the one that takes care of all that. So why Lely robots? I would tell you the number one reason is because of the dealer. And I would tell you the second one is it fit our scenario best. So that pretty much sums it up. Cinnamon Ridge is known for high production in the Jersey cows and high protein. And we sell a lot of bulls. We sell a lot of young stock, heifers, etc., cows, because of that. And the Lely robots are a piece of that whole thing. So anyway, I'll let Joan finish, and then we're ready for questions.
And then another piece that's come along with it, we were already into agritourism before we started with the robotic dairy operation. We're situated very close to John Deere, and John Deere asked us to start doing tours for them. But the robot side has brought in a whole different level of the tourism. We now, instead of seeing just international tours, now we see local tours, the Silver Savers, the Heritage Club, local groups, and also groups from around the world will come and see just the robots, as well as the United States. So we built our barn with a tour room in it. And that one picture where we're looking down on the barn is actually from the tour room. And we do a lot of education of how cows are milked and what a freestall barn is. And that has also helped with basically our family living expenses has been covered by the tourism piece.
We see roughly 110 buses a year on a normal year. So that we love to do tours. I would tell you, get into tourism if you love to do it. There's always room for another one. But if you don't like working around people, you want to be by yourself, tourism may not be for you. So I think we're ready for questions.
This is excellent. Thank you for this overview. Not only about the robots, but also how you have this whole package, a very holistic operation. So we're gonna open up for question and answers now. Jim and I will be asking the questions on your behalf. And Jim, do you want to start with the first question and now move to the second one?
Sure. Do you want to comment on your production when you moved into robots? Did you initially have a dip? I know you're really high now, but just talk about that transition of production. And maybe as far as production, do you just want to also comment on components, somatic cell count as you went through that transition in, I think it was 2012 you mentioned?
2012, we did not have a dip. We started, and the day they moved in, they went up from there. So that was where we are with that. Right now we're roughly a 5.0 fat test, 3.940 protein test. Somatic cell count is in the 100 to 120,000 ish. And if people have questions, I can go into that further, but that's kind of where that is.
Thank you. Question here about, I noticed that it's a 4-row barn, but it is with one feed alley, or is it the feed alleys on the sides?
The feed alleys are on the outside. In fact, I think I'm the first Lely barn to ever do this. I actually put the robots on the inside of the barn. So if you were tending to them, you could be close to all of them. And then the feed alleys are on the outside, and there's 3 rows on each side of the barn. And they're actually 2 groups. It wouldn't matter. You can have them on either side. We kind of keep it balanced, but we generally put the older cows on what we would call the north side and the younger cows on the south side. And the reason we do that is they have in the Lely robots, they have a Jersey kit, which for the smaller heifer, it kind of confines them tighter into the box.
Sure.
And so we have that on all first calf heifers go into that. And then you grow into the other one. And on the other side, we actually, in those, the picture of the robots, on the north side, you actually walk, the cow is elevated about an inch higher, which allows the robot to attach easier and better.
Makes sense because you have smaller cows. Yeah,
right.
That makes a lot of sense. Jim, do you want to go?
Feed alleys, that means 2 Junos.
Right. Oh, you have 2 Junos. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Because otherwise it'd be, yeah. Cool. Yeah,
So
that pace may have the Junos and have the feed pushed up. Well, Jim and I have done research on this. Really makes a difference. Yeah. Okay, Jim, go ahead. Sorry.
So a couple of questions related outside of the robots that a couple of people are asking, and this might be for Joan or John. Do you charge for your tours? And then as far as cheese making, is that made in the same facility where their cows are milked? Do you have a separate facility for that? So just kind of around your tourism and also the cheese.
So any dairy farmer that wants to come look at our operation, we do not charge for a dairy farmer because we looked at a lot of operations and people have been very open about having us come into their operation and see what they do. We will return the favor. So any dairy farmer, you're welcome to come, and we'll even talk about the warts of our operation. But everybody else, yes, we do. We charge for the tours. And you know what? People expect to pay for the tours. We charge a bus load is $15 a person, and they get the full farm tour. We also have robotic dairy barn tours where they just come in and want to see the cows being milked. And what I do for them is a $10 per tour or per person with a $4 coupon for our store. So which it happens to be the same price as a bag of curd. So a little bit of marketing in there. But you know what? People do not have a problem paying. In fact, you draw those types of people. The children's tours, we're kind of phasing out of those just because it's getting more and more difficult with the dietary needs and different things with the children. And we're going to more events versus individual, let's bring a group out. In fact, I'm working with Ag in the Classroom right now to set up some events this summer on our farm for the kid tours.
Cool.
Look up how much production per robot.
Okay, so the one question here has been already answered. Have you done adjustments to the robot because of the size of the cows? And you already answered before. Thank you. How much production do you have per robot? Do you know? How many pounds per robot?
Joan's going to look that up.
Okay,
and
sounds
let me
good.
take
We'll
the
move
next
to the
one.
next one. Okay. With 6 milkings per day, how many cattle are you fetching? Do you have
Okay,
selection gates? I'm confused about the question. Sorry.
Oh, okay, I can answer this. I
Okay.
fully understand. With 6 milkings per day, the number of milkings that you milk per day is all based on production. So a cow basically between her 30 days in milk to about 110 days in milk, she's going to reach her zenith or her peak production. And those are the ones we want 5 or 6 times a day. Now, keep in mind, you have to wait 4 hours in between each one. So to be milked 6 times a day, day after day, is probably not possible. You go 5, then you go 6, then you go 5, 5, 6, something like that. To answer the fetching question, usually we have somewhere around 4 to 6 cows in the morning and 4 to 6 in the afternoon. And most of those revolve around heifer that doesn't know what to do when or whatever. The number, if you are having a problem with reaching 6 cows per day and you've got a fetching problem, you have too many cows for the robot. That is, it's not going to work. Meaning you need that 10% free time for them to be able to do in there. If you've got more than that, then that's different. So now let's go back to the production per robot. Okay. I want to talk just briefly about why I don't know that number, because that number is not important to me. I understand Lely thinks that it's important. Lely thinks the amount of pounds per cow or amount of pounds per robot is a big deal. But I'm going to tell you that you are not maximizing the amount of production per cow if you do that, because you are going to keep those cows going in there. They're going to be giving a lot of milk at a time. And the problem is you're going to be feeding and having way more cows than your system needs. In my eyes, you want to maximize the production per cow, not per robot. Granted, you get more milk, but you've got more feed, you've got more facility, you've got more of all of the fixed costs that you're going to have more of. And I maintain, in fact, Lely and I have gone round and round with this. I think the amount of pounds per cow is the most important piece in this, and you will maximize the cow, you will minimize the amount of feed that you need to feed. And because face it, a lactating cow's diet is very expensive. You're going to get into $6 to $10 per cow per day in that diet because it's so expensive.
Another piece of the information, I don't know what you reported.
So the number was okay.
Yeah, the one of the biggest pieces we look at is how long did it take the cow to get milked? Because some cows jiggle around or they have lower letdowns, and they may be a high producing cow, but we could have milked 2 or 3 cows in that time. So that's another key piece that we look at.
Okay, I'm looking
how fast they're milked, right? Yeah.
I'm looking at live in time.
Yeah.
And right now we're at 75.9 pounds per cow per day. The total production for the 4 robots is 16,361.
Okay.
So you divide that by 4, and that's the number of pounds.
Right, a little over 4,000
robot per day.
Right.
We've got a fat test of 4.94. We've got a number of milkings per cow per day of 3.3. We have a protein test of 3.98. So
excellent. Yeah, these are jerseys, so we have to think about that too.
Jerseys. The thing that's unusual about the jerseys is the 75 point.
It's huge for jerseys. Yeah, it's really good. Right. It's over 100 for a Holstein herd. So it's really good. Yep.
Right,
Equivalent
right.
potentially. So anyway, good. Jim, you want to go to the next question? It's kind of running out of time. 5 minutes left here.
Yeah, do you have a lot? Can you expand a little bit? There's sure a lot of discussion about your sand bedding and Lely versus De La Belle. Do you want to comment any more on that?
As I understood it at that time, the pulleys in the De La Belle system, the sand got in it and disrupted it. I don't know if they've changed that since that time. I'm going to tell you, De La Belle has a good system too. Don't think. My daughter would tell you, because she worked for a De La Belle, there are things that she wished she had that it isn't included in the Lely system, but that really was a big one. So if you don't mind, Jim, I can just read the question quickly and keep going on them.
Sure.
If you don't mind.
What do you mean?
Question is, how do we train new cows in the robots? You push them in the first time. What gets them in is they're attracted to the feed, and you push them in the first time. First of all, Jerseys are very tame, so that's not a big deal. You push them in the first time, and then it doesn't take but more than a few days, and they're pretty much going in on their own. Do you agree that robotic farms can attract more qualified labor force? Yeah, because the labor of putting on milkers is not fun labor. The labor of, on our farm, you're doing things, some of the things are not really fun. I mean, shoveling manure is not really fun, but then feeding animals is fun for a lot of people, including me. What do you feed in the robots? We have a robot pellet that is made in Mankato, Minnesota, that especially is made for us, and our nutritionist, Alan Klima with Big Game Feeds, is the one that formulates that. And we do a lot of experimenting with the different things. I know it's cherry flavor right now because I can smell the cherries. What do we feed in the robots? And we also feed in the robots, it's like Carol corn syrup that we dribble on top for ketosis purposes. Are you using JX bulls or only pure jerseys? We're pure jerseys. We will use a 6. They have 1 through 6. Once you're past 6, you're pure jersey. We will use some 6s, but we're pure Jersey bulls. We don't want to be known as a crossbred herd. As your robots have aged, have you seen an increase in running costs? It's about the same thing.
Around $30,000 a year for the maintenance and the repairs that go along with the robots.
You were talking about a maintenance schedule. Do you build a self-maintenance calendar over these years, or are you working with? We work with the dealer, and the dealer tells us when to do it, doing that sort of a thing. Have you considered a Lely orbiter, small milk processing factory?
And those are in Europe.
Yeah. We've looked at the video a few times, and it has our interest. We'll put it that way.
There we go. Yes.
What about the investment in robot cost per pound? I guess we haven't looked at that. The robots, we have $1 million in robots. That's where it is, and I've given you the pounds, so we can go through that. I'm trying to get through all the questions.
It's okay. Don't rush too much. So we can stop at 30 minutes and then answer some other questions a little slower. Don't have to rush too much.
Are Jersey cows any more suitable to robotic milking than others? I think they're way better. They're curious. They're tame. They want to get in there and they want to do those things. So yes.
I heard some testimonials that Jerseys learn faster.
Visits of robots per day. I don't know. Joan can.
Here's refusals right here. That was some of the questions.
Refusals is 2.8, and we're 3.3 milkings.
You already said that's 3.3 milkings per day, right? Those.
Yeah. Yep. What is the average number of milkings per cow per day? How do you handle a restless heifer, which must be manually attached so you can get used to milking? You just work with it. We never hit them. We never do anything. You just keep being more persistent than they are. And yes, they get stubborn. I think restless could be a kicking heifer as well, but you keep on trying your best to put it on there. And eventually we've never had one that we've culled or gotten rid of because they don't stand there and get milked. You just need to be more patient than they are is what I would tell you.
Okay, John, if it's okay, I'll just pause you for a second so I can stop the
Okay.
recording and then we'll take care of some additional questions. So just for the official recording till we stay at 30 minutes, like all of you who attended to this event, thank you for attending. And special thank you to the Maxwells for being here today and sharing such great information with us. And we invite you to join us again May 20th for the 5th episode of Robotic Milking edition. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording, but you guys please stay for a couple more minutes as we have a couple more questions to be answered. Thank you very much. Okay.